10 Traumatic Signs of an Unhappy Marriage. Hi friends, welcome to Marriage Realities, a comprehensive relationship channel. Today's video is all about the nerve-wracking signs which clearly shows that your marriage is loveless and unhappy to you. Living through an unhappy marriage is not an easy joke. Your emotions are trampled, your sensitivity is thrashed, your mental stability is crushed in your loveless relationship. Many a time you reach out to your spouse in the hope that he or she will reciprocate positively to your overtures of love. But however much you try, your spouse acts deadpan and loveless towards you. When you're living through such a loveless marriage, everything happening in your relationship makes you feel depressive and dejected, doesn't it? You love your spouse and want to enjoy a happy relationship with him or her. When you marry a spouse, you have great dreams of a loving relationship with him or her. In fact, it is your dream to live a happily ever after married life with your spouse. Yes. When you marry a spouse, you have all sort of rosy dreams that your love days will continue forever. Your initial married days prove your thoughts right when you could not have enough of each other. But as days go by, you're shocked when your relationship becomes lackluster and dull. Your rosy dreams about a happy marriage continues to remain a pipe dream. When love becomes non-existent in your marriage and happiness bids goodbye from you, you're emotionally shattered when the distance between you and your spouse widens and deepens. You're time and again emotionally shattered when your married life is nothing short of a mental torture to you. Nothing makes you more unhappy than a married life devoid of love and care. Shall we now have a look at the 10 depressive signs of an unhappy marriage? The number one sign of an unhappy marriage is total lack of communication. When you're living through a loveless marriage, there's absolutely no loving communication between you. As love has ceased to exist in your relationship, silence rules your home. Your spouse never interacts with you, making you feel isolated and lost. Your spouse does not share his or her feelings with you, making you feel alienated from him or her. Your spouse has no caring words for you, making you feel alone and helpless. Your spouse acts so withdrawn from you that you're forced to spend your time alone at home, doing your own thing. You live in the same house with your spouse, not as husband and wife, but more like strangers. The number two sign of an unhappy marriage is total lack of sexual life. When there's love in your relationship, you enjoy excellent physical intimacy with your spouse. Loving couples have regular sex as it gives them intense pleasure and emotional bond. But when there's no love in your relationship, your sex life becomes non-existent. Many a time your spouse sleeps in a separate room, making you feel lost by his or her total disinterest in being physically intimate with you. The old romantic spark no longer exists between you. The disinterest of your spouse makes you feel unattractive and undesirable. Life without sex does not exist for truly loving couples. The number three sign of an unhappy marriage is total indifference. When there is true love in your relationship, there is mutual care and emotional support between you. But when there is no love in your marriage, there is absolutely no emotional sharing in your relationship. You might be looking downcast and dejected, but your spouse is not bothered about it. Your spouse makes you feel lonely and alone by being totally indifferent towards you. There is so much indifference in your married life that you hate every minute of it. The number four sign of an unhappy marriage is total lack of respect. Mutual respect is very important for your marriage to survive. You want your spouse to respect you for what you are. You want your spouse to respect your individuality. But when there's no love in your marriage, there's no respect worth the name in your relationship. When love is lost in your marriage, everything is lost. The number five sign of an unhappy marriage is frequent abusive behavior. When your spouse loves you, he or she will cherish you. Your spouse would not in his or her wildest dream abuse you when she loves you. But when there's no love between you, there is intense and voluminous verbal and physical abuse in your marriage. Your spouse utters expletives against you with the deliberate intention of hurting you. Many a time you also experience physical abuse by your spouse. When verbal and physical abuse is predominant in your marriage, there's nothing worth the name in it. The number six sign of an unhappy marriage is being accusing. Your spouse always accuses you as the sole reason behind any mishaps that happen in your married life. If there is a financial downfall in your family, the reason has to be you. If there is any family issue, you're accused as the reason behind it. Your spouse takes sadistic pleasure in accusing you as the root cause of everything bad happening in your family. When your married life is unhappy, there is mutual accusations with both vying with each other to prove the other wrong. The number seven sign of an unhappy marriage is lack of emotional intimacy. In your unhappy marriage, your spouse makes you feel emotionally disconnected with him or her. It is because your spouse no longer makes you feel like a family. Your spouse acts that much disconnected with you. Your spouse is not supportive towards your emotional needs. Your spouse never helps you out financially either. You might be undergoing the worst period of your life, but your spouse is not with you at this stressful time of your life as he or she has grown too emotionally apart from you. The number 8 sign of an unhappy marriage is you are non-existent in the future plans of your spouse. Your spouse has many plans about his or her future, but strangely you do not have a place in it. You are not at all included in any of the futuristic plans of your spouse. You are in complete dark about the plans of your spouse as he or she never discusses it with you. Not being a part of the future life of your spouse is a clear indication of your unhappy marriage. The number 9 sign of an unhappy marriage is widening distance between you. You and your spouse no longer live as husband and wife. Your spouse often goes out without you, but you do not know where to. Your spouse has many friends about whom you never know anything about. Your spouse spends his or her free time away from you. Your spouse would rather watch TV, play video games, browse the internet than talk with you. Your spouse acts that much distant and aloof from you. Your spouse acts as though you no longer matter to him or her. Number 10 sign of an unhappy marriage is total secrecy. When you're living through a loveless marriage, total secrecy shrouds your relationship. Your spouse often comes home late but never offers any explanation about the reason behind it. You're also in the dark about the whereabouts of your spouse, but you dare not ask your spouse about it as you know you'll only get a cold shoulder from him or her. The money dealings of your spouse is also a secret to you. Lack of transparency between you makes your loveless marriage even more gloomy to you. Can you see the traumatic signs of a loveless marriage? When there's no love between you, your relationship is indeed a traumatic experience for you. If you let things drift away like this, your marriage will soon plunge towards its inevitable failure. Did this video make you understand the traumatic signs of an unhappy marriage? Marriage Realities will have many such relationship eye-openers. Subscribe to my channel to understand your marriage in a new light. Press the bell icon for updates about my latest relationship videos. Make love forever until death do us part, your relationship goal.